Yeah, there it is. Happy New Year and welcome to the first episode in 2024 of The Reset. I am your host, Andre Clay. And on tonight's show, you will own nothing and you will be happy. How America has become a subscription based society. Again, on tonight's show, you will own nothing and you will be happy. How America has become a subscription based society. Tonight's show will be streaming live on Facebook, will be streaming live on YouTube and Instagram. And for your convenience, the comments section is open tonight. Hoping that you will all chime in. Thank you for tuning in. And with that, let us begin. What a start to 2024 this has been, right? We've had the viral Cat Williams interview on Club Shay Shay and all of his fallout. We saw the man jump over the courtroom bench like a WWE wrestler in Las Vegas to attack the judge who just sentenced him. Oh, yeah. This year has been off to a wild one. But then we learned of 215 bodies found in unmarked graves behind a Mississippi jail. And unfortunately, we also are bringing the genocide in Gaza into the new year. We have the upcoming primary and presidential elections upon us, and coverage of the migrant crisis at the southern border and in our sanctuary cities remains a problem. And we've all been able to stay updated on these events by consuming news and entertainment we find on social media. And with streaming services and apps we subscribe to and pay for monthly, and we love it, don't we? The convenience of having on-demand entertainment, news, shopping, and even dating, all at the swipe of a finger, and a verified credit or debit card or PayPal account, of course. But what are the long-term goals of these conveniences? Is this something that we ever ask ourselves? And how do we adapt to becoming an ownerless society? Because that's what it looks like, we're becoming them. To help us out with tonight, let us start off with kind of trying to define what I mean by you will own nothing and you will be happy. This particular statement, widely known, but there was a subscriber on Reddit that I thought did a very good breakdown on what this term means. As a subscriber on Wall Street Bets, who's no longer on Reddit, it seems, he writes, "You will own nothing and you will be happy," really means the below. A gradual move to a subscription-based economy. For example, you will own nothing and rent everything. Sound familiar? Number two, a basic income for workers that no longer provide value. For example, you will be happy because you no longer need to work. Number three, a gradual move from physical consumerism to digital content consumerism, with novelty and dopamine as the opioid for the masses. For example, you will be happy spending your time consuming digital content, porn, TikToks, YouTube videos, streams, games, music, recreational drugs, etc. Number four, a decline in free speech through both media censorship and self-censorship. For example, you will be happy because if you are not happy, then there is something wrong with you and you need to be put on something. And number five, a return to historical norms where 1%, and really the 1% of 1%, controls most of the wealth and power of society, aka a kind of tech-based serfdom. Now, to go more into detail, he writes, a gradual move to a subscription-based economy is when wages from labor no longer keep up with the price of assets. It means workers can no longer save enough income to buy financial assets in sufficient amounts to transition from laboring to capital class. This is straightforward. If you make a lot of money working for others, you can use that money to invest, and then you no longer need to work for others. When the price of assets have increased dramatically more than wages, this becomes difficult, which means if you are working now, you cannot retire and are stuck in the laboring class. And wage stagnation, it means you can buy less of everything else, house, car, etc. This means you, quote unquote, own less. And the examples that he gives are, for example, with a house, we've gone from being able to afford a mortgage to now only being able to rent. With cars, we go from leasing them to now ride sharing. Utilities and internet have already been subscriber based. Entertainment and media subscription, phone plan, and internet subscription. Consumable food, gas, consumed and have to buy again. In most cases, I do know that Amazon Foods is offering a service where food can be delivered. Walmart does the same thing. So yeah, I mean, a lot of this sounds familiar already. We're doing a lot of this right now. And to further go into this subject matter, I want to point you to this article I came across: Subscription Models and the Rise of the Ownerless Society. Software as a Service. The rise of the SaaS model in key sectors such as digital media have been a huge contributor to the ownerless society we see today. Before, when the prominent form of music consumption was through purchases such as CDs and MP3 files, remember that Generation X? Listeners were able to own a copy of the media they paid for. Part of this ownership meant the listener could have a perpetual right to listen to their music and transport their library of songs anywhere. Two key features that are not available to users who subscribe to listen to music. With the current usage of streaming services, listeners can access music but cannot own it. In everyday circumstances, these omissions are probably not something that users worry about. However, there are enough situations that exemplify why being an ownerless society has its drawbacks. Of course, people don't need to own everything they consume. In today's world, subscriptions and rentals are often the only option that makes sense. Take a textbook rental for the quarter, for example, or streaming services which allow convenient access to vast libraries of media for a low price. Consumers should be able to make their own decisions between subscriptions or one-time purchases. However, as a society, we need to make sure that the ownerless society we are heading into is something we truly want. Are we comfortable with being locked into a streaming platform's billing cycle if we can't guarantee that the show we like will still be available tomorrow? Netflix. As we trade the ability to own our content for the permission to access it for cheaper, we are placing more power in the hands of big industries like the record labels and tech companies to make decisions for us. And there you have it. That's exactly what's going on. We do have to think, I think, a lot closer about what it is that we're trading the convenience of having these items, these materials, these goods readily available for us, although we don't truly own them. We're able to listen to them again as long as we're paying a subscription fee, a monthly subscription fee. But it's not like the old days. A lot of us remember we were able to go to the record stores and actually purchase, the CD, the LP, physically take that home and listen to it as we so pleased. Able to add it to a collection of other songs we had and come up with our own playlist. But that was yesterday, and today it's not like that. So, how many subscriptions does the average person have? The average person spends about $219 per month on subscriptions, which is more than twice the initial estimate of $86 per month. A 2022 survey found that for media and entertainment offerings, the average number of paid subscriptions per customer was 12, with millennials having the most at 17. Additionally, more than half of consumers underestimate their monthly subscription costs, with 24% underestimating by $200 or more. This indicates that many people may have more subscriptions than they realize, leading to higher costs. It's important for consumers to regularly review their subscriptions to avoid overpaying for services they rarely use. And also, along with being a subscriber based society, are we also turning into a renter society? And what is a renter society? It is a social structure in which a significant portion of the population opts to rent property rather than own it. Now, this can be due to various factors such as housing affordability, lifestyle choices, or economic considerations. In the United States, the share of rental households has become growing rapidly, with renters now making up more than a third of all US households. Rental households tend to be younger, lower income, and more diverse than homeowners. And the rising cost of home ownership has contributed to the increasing prevalence of renting. A renter society can have implications for housing policies, economic stability, and the financial well being of individuals and families. It is a trend that reflects the evolving dynamics of housing and property ownership within the society. And with this article that I found here from The Hill, dated February 21st, 2023, by Adam Barnes and Gianna Melillo, it is titled "The Average American Tenant is Rent Burden." Here's what that means for the economy. For the first time in over 20 years, the typical American spends 30% of their income in housing. The average American renter is now paying more than 30% of their income in housing, as wages have failed to keep up with rent hikes and affordable units remain scarce, a new report shows. The nation is falling short of the demand for affordable housing by at least 1 million homes in some estimates. The federal government defines rent burden as paying more than 30% threshold. The typical American renter now falls in that category, according to the recent report from Moody's Analytics. This marks the first time that's occurred in more than 20 years that the ratings agency has been tracking the metric. Many adults working full time still struggling with paying rent. While tenants in many U.S. cities have long spent at least 30% of their income in housing, the fact that this threshold has been passed at the national level marks a new milestone for housing affordability. Jennifer Wells, a social worker in Bartholomew County, Indiana, told The Hill her rent has soared since 2016 while maintenance was scarce. Jennifer Wells, a social worker in Indiana, told The Hill her rent has soared since 2016. In 2016, she stated, "I moved into a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment and was paying $720 a month. And then the 6 years that I lived there, it was gradually raised to well above $1,000 a month," Jennifer said. Wells said she now rents a single-family home with her 2 adult sons, who both have good jobs, but sky-high rents make living on their own impossible. "None of us can do it by ourselves," she said. What kind of band together to we kind of band together to try to make it happen. So we ask, what's behind the rising rents? Well, housing costs throughout the US have risen steadily in the wake of the 2007-2008 financial crisis and recessions. Both rents and housing prices have been fueled by a long-term housing shortage, which home construction long lagging behind demand. Although construction rates began to improve in 2021, the shortage has kept many would-be buyers as renters, putting more pressure on the rental market and driving up prices. But we also know that that's not the only contributor behind what's making rent prices rise. We also know that there are a lot of corporations that have been buying up a lot of houses, right? I don't know about you guys, but I often get emails and spam phone calls from people wanting to buy my home right now. I know it's happening to everyone else. And a lot of this has to do with corporations trying to buy up so much real estate, so many properties, and more specifically, single family homes. They're very interested in those. So, how do we know about this? Well, when asked, are corporations buying up homes? A CNBC report that I read had stated that large corporations are indeed buying up single family homes in the United States, although they still represent a relatively small fraction of home buyers. While companies like American Homes for Rent and Innovation Homes have seen significant growth in the rental market, it's important to note that these large corporations only made up around 3% of American home sales in 2021 and 1% in previous years. The majority of home purchases in the investor space are made by smaller, localized groups. However, the share of homes purchased by real estate investors is growing, with some markets seeing a significant impact, especially in the relatively affordable Sun Belt metro areas. This trend has implications for the housing market, rental prices, and the availability of single family homes for individual buyers. Now, what are the reasons behind these corporations buying up homes? Well, some of the reasons include investment opportunity, right? Single family homes are seen as high return, low risk investments, especially in markets with high demand and limited supply. This has led to corporations and investors purchasing homes as rental properties, aiming to benefit from the potential appreciation in property value and rental income. Number two, the rise in demand for rental properties. The increase in demand for rental properties, particularly in the Sun Belt and East Coast regions, has made single family homes an attractive investment for corporations. This demand is driven by factors such as demographic shifts and the growing population of suburban living. And number three, market landscape. While large corporations play a role in shaping the market, they only made up around 3% of American home sales in 2021. However, their share is growing, with real estate investors buying a record of 18.4% of the homes sold in the United States, up from 12.6% a year earlier. So, what does it look like, folks? Own nothing and be happy about it. It looks like this is what the rich, the powerful, the elite, the corporate class wants for the rest of us here in the working class. And we have to be mindful of how we are spending our own funds, our own economies at home, and might have to do away with some of the conveniences that we have come accustomed to. Because the ability to build wealth, which is easiest through home ownership, slipping through our fingers, slipping through all of our fingers. And especially in Black America, where we have 0 to 1% wealth in this nation, it's becoming less and less of a reality for us. I know that there are folks out there who are trying to encourage people to go ahead and purchase homes right now in the current market. But this is not really a buyer's market right now. It's really a seller's market. But once you sell, if you sell, what do you do then? Because prices for homes right now are overinflated, outrageous, interest rates are up. So the way we are being herded into having to adapt to the new norm of not being able to own a home, not necessarily needing to own a car, not necessarily needing to own our music, our television shows, any of our entertainment. And we subscribe to the news stations that we receive information on. This is the new norm. Is this really what we want? Ladies and gentlemen, it's something that I think that all Americans truly need to reconsider. We need to think about. Now, as far as rent prices increasing, I think we need to push our politicians, our Congress people, our president to write legislation that puts some type of stopgap on how high rents, are increasing in this nation. There needs to be some form of rent control, I believe, on a federal level. Subscriber-based economies that we have, the Netflix, YouTubes, Hulu, Prime, we're already in the matrix with that, wouldn't you say? But it is an evolving and changing society that we just have to adapt to. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have to decide what is best for us in the coming year ahead. We have a presidential election to think of. We have our own home economies to think of. We have international affairs to think of. And who we elect next to lead this nation is going to determine a lot. But in the meantime, let's stay fast, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be mindful and let's spend wisely. With that being said, that'll be it for this evening. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Good night.